All right. Welcome. Welcome to Logos Bible Software tutorials on non-indicative verbs. There's some stuff I want to cover. And as always, I'm going to be referencing some scholarly resources. So, and I'm going to be pulling them all up in the Logos Bible software. So let's have some fun. Let's have some fun here. Let's get into it and let's get into what's going on with the Greek non-indicative verbs. So, as I talked about, Greek verbs. So, when I'm talking about Greek, I'm talking about Koine Greek, and this is the Greek in your New Testament. So, when it comes to the Greek in the New Testament, they really break down into two types of verbs. Verbs are either going to be in what we call as indicative or non-indicative verbs. Let me go on and share this real quick so I can, let me go on and share this so I can make sure that everybody who wants to be a part of this can be a part of this. So as I'm doing that, I'm just going to go over. So this whole idea of an indicative versus non-indicative verbs, and they do function kind of differently. Or it's not they function differently, but they have different focuses, and that is definitely the area where I want to concentrate. Let me Here we go, in our live control room. So we go and share this. All right, so let me go on and share this on my page or my Facebook page, and so anybody who would want to come in can come in, because I'm going to really get into some things that I think are very, very important, especially in regard to the non-indicative verbs. Verbs are probably some of the most they're the most important when it comes to an exegesis by far. Your verbs are your most important. So understanding how they function and how they work is going to be very, very important in doing your exegesis. Now, if I don't know how a verb functions, I'm going to make some problems. I'm going to do some things that that may not be because I make statements about the text that may not be accurate. So it's very important that as we are understanding these verbs, is that we just understand how they function and how they work. So now that I've done all that sharing, let me pull up some resources that I think are going to be helpful. Well, the first thing we're going to do, I'm just going to pull up the ESV. And I'm going to kind of come over here and I'm going to stretch that all the way out. Now, there are mainly a couple different resources that I've encouraged. This one right here, going deeper with the New Testament, and that's going to point some things out for us, especially when it is regarding the aspect. Because I think aspect is important, especially, it's most important when you're talking about non-indicative verbs. Now, I'm going to explain these these different things about non-indicative verbs in general, and then I'm going to get into the specifics about what's going on with each type of non-indicative verb. I also want to pull up the Wallace grammar. Wallace is going to be very important. Really, Wallace is probably, I think, at least for me, and when I talk to other people, Wallace is the go-to grammar. You may not always agree with him, but he's definitely the go-to grammar. And then I'm going to pull up Mounce's, because Mounce gives us some basic information, but his grammar is not meant to get into the nitty-gritty, because what's important to understand is that every resource really has a unique purpose. And Mounce is grammar. So when I talk about Mounce, I'm talking about Bill Mounce. His grammar is for first-year Greek students. So he's not going to get into like the nitty-gritty details. He's just that's all his book is designed for, is that you can get started in Greek. I love his book because he makes it simple. But when he gets into an overview of Greek, and I want to go down to, so he talks about time. Time refers to when an action occurs, and these times are past, present, and future. It's when. And when he's talking about tense, tense here is morally reserved for the indicative verb, present tense, etc. Then you have the tense. You can think of tense and time as a really synonyms when you're hearing it from Bill Mounce. Then you have this thing about aspect, and that is where the heart of what we're talking about here, that is the very heart of what we are going to get at in non-indicative verbs. And he says here that the concept of aspect is a contribution from the relatively new field of linguistics. Aspect is not the same as tense, although it is related to it. What is the difference between I studied last night and I was studying last night? I studied last night is what's called as a completed aspect. It's used of events in the past. You will also hear the phrase perfected aspect. Not to be confused with the perfective tense. Perfective aspect is another interchangeable word to refer to a completed aspect. A completed aspect is formed by using the simple form I ate, I eat, turns into I ate. Something in the past. I'm already done with it. I was studying last night describes the studying of an ongoing action, a process, something that took place over a period of time. This is called a continuous aspect. I don't like the usage of here, but it just because it makes it harder to understand. And a ongoing aspect is something that continues on. So present tense in non-indicative verbs is not as concerned with when something happens, but with just that the action is ongoing. It doesn't stop, or it's not intended to stop. So here he's got these um, different types of tenses, and this is only to give us a little bit of an understanding. Um, really, I really like what Plummer says here. So when I come in here, he's got the aspect, he's got the definition, and tense form. So what I also want to go is I just want to make this a little bit larger so you can see it. I want this to be a little bit bigger. There. He says that on the definition of aspect, there is wide consensus in the relevant scholarly literature today that Greek, unlike English, is aspect prominent. So, aspect is the most important. In other words, the Greek speaker or writer chooses to present an action from a certain subjective vantage point. This choice of perspective, verbal aspect, is more prominent in Greek verbs than the time at which the action performed and or the way in which the action is performed, i.e. the action's objective or intrinsic nature. As I mentioned, indicative is far the prominent feature in indicative. Although both time and aspect are at play, time is more important. And you're going to just see why that is very, very soon. So you're going to see why that is very, very soon, but just keep those in mind of non-indicative verbs are primarily concerned with aspect. That is how an action occurs, not as much as when. And the various types of non-indicative aspects are either a present, which means ongoing, though some of these tenses can have both ongoing as well as perfective aspects. It can have an aorist or an undefined. This is very true when it comes to the aorist tense in non-indicative verbs. The aorist tense in a indicative verb is primarily concerned about a past event, although I don't know when that happened, but it's a past event. But when you get into the aorist, in particularly non-indicative verbs, that the aorist functions more like a snapshot or a wide view picture view of the action. It doesn't necessarily say it was past or present, but just keep that in mind is that in understanding the difference between when an action happens and how it happens. Thank you, Rob. Thank you very much for the love. I appreciate it. I need all the love I can get. Now, that the other aspect is present, aorist, or another aspect is past or a completed aspect. And that's where we're going to get into down here. It has the imperfective aspect, and the tense form is in present or imperfect, and it is viewed as the process is viewed as in the process as ongoing. What's important here, that the it just means that the action is an ongoing action. So the present tense is an ongoing action that has occurred that's not going to end. And the imperfect In the imperfect tense, it's a past event that it's what's called as a progressive past. The perfective action viewed as complete, as whole, and as primarily an aorist tense. And the other type of aspect is a forstative, meaning that the states or affairs were resulting from the previous action or state. So here is both. Now, the perfect tense is a past event that has ongoing results. So, although it has been completed, those actions are still continuing on for today. So, when Jesus is on the cross and he says, "It is finished," finish is the Greek word tetelestai, and it has the effect of a past event that has ongoing results. So we can translate, so it's now and forever finished. So as we get into these various non-indicative verbs, I really want us to highlight and for us to understand what is. So as we search the Bible for these various Greek verbs, it's important that we not just search them, but understand what they mean. It doesn't matter if we do all these great searches, is if we don't understand what they mean or how they function. So let's get into one of the first ones. So I'm going to go into, let's go into the Mounce's grammar. So so Bill Mounce, he's got the indicative mood, and he's got these non-indicative verbs. I'm gonna talk about the subjunctive and the imperative. Those are the two I'm going to focus on because, and then I'll do a later video on participles and also infinitives. And as we look into, he's got some great things about. So with the subjunctive mood, it says the subjunctive is the most common of the oblique moods in the New Testament. In general, the subjunctive mood can be said to represent the verbal action or state as uncertain but probable. It is not correct to call this mood of uncertainty because the optative also presents verbs as uncertain. Rather, it's better to call it the mood of probability so as to distinguish it from the optative. Still, this is an overtly simplistic definition of its usage in the New Testament. Let's go into documents. Better yet, we're going to go down here to tools. Come down here to visual filters. Open those up. All right. So make some limitations here. because I don't necessarily need this to go into every. I'm going to do at verb. I don't know Greek. There we go. There we go. So I want to go in the subjunctive mood, and I'm going to click on the aorist tense. So the aorist tense presents it as a snapshot. And we know this is the mood of probability. Let's make a unique type of, here we go. We're going to do a blue highlighter here. Thank you. Thank you much. Thank you. Go on into my YouTube channel, and we are, I am going on studying the Greek. I am studying the Greek non-indicative verbs, and I'm walking people through of how to go through that. So here's the aorist tense. So the aorist tense is a undefined action. And it presents the action as a snapshot. So now where we're gonna, I'm gonna drag this over here. The love is very much appreciated. By the way, that I really enjoy your videos. Thank you much. All right. So we're now here into, let's call this subjunctive. We'll call this the aorist subjunctive. VF stands for visual filter. We have these tools here. Formatting. Here we go. This is exactly what I want. There we go. So now, here's what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a search because this is going to help. Man, the love you are showing is awesome. You need to go live. You need to go live so that I can share love as well. Thank you. Love you much. Love you much. Thank you for the love. Yeah, because you definitely. All right. So as we're going through and as we're thinking about, so the one thing in Logos Bible software, and this may make it hard, because it's not always going to show. Oh, because I'm all the way in Ruth. Of course, it's not showing up. Let me go into. Let's go into Ephesians. There we go. So it's showing up my aorist, and I wanted to bring up the aorist, and I wanted to do them this way because I wanted you to see from the text is that the differences. So our other one is that we're going to go at verb. I want it to be a subjunctive. And present. And we're going to make this into, I want to do it another highlighter, but this time I want to do brown. So Also, another way to double check this is, so we're going to do a search, and we're end up going to be doing a morph search, and I want to search for a subjunctive where it has an aorist and where it has a present tense. And I want a subjunctive, and so it's going to bring up a passage. And we're going to go to that passage, and it's going to bring out some things that we may not have thought about. Because I want us to see the difference in the biblical text of, instead of, oh, here's one. So in Ephesians, so that they may have something to share in need. So it's saying, hey, that, so here is the present tense subjunctive. So it's a mood of probability. I would lean towards the subjunctive is the Greek word echo. And yeah, it's a so right now that they have the possibility that it, here is from the Greek word didomi, which means to give or to ground. And the whole thing with the aorist is that it may have give grace to those who hear. And the new nuance of the aorist is more of and we see the snapshot here of what's going on in Ephesians chapter 4, verse 30. Let's see if we can find another passage which is almost, it's hard to find the two passages that so we have this aorist or this undefined in Philippians 3:12, not that I've already obtained this or am already perfect, but press on to make it my own. So it get, and once again the aorist has this snapshot feel of Paul's viewpoint of and he's talking about he has not already attained perfection, but the snapshot of Paul's life is that he wants it to make what Christ has given me as my own. And then he says in verse 10, let those who are mature think. So it's almost like this, that they might continue to think in this way. And if anything, and if any one of you thinks otherwise, but the implication that the subjunctive and more the present aspect is an ongoing aspect that they expect to continue to keep going, to continue to keep going. Next, we're going to do another visual filter. Let's do another, and we're going to do a verb. It's going to be in the subjunctive, and let's look for a perfect. And we're not going to do brown highlight, we're going to do gray. And right now I'm just kind of searching for some places where it might have these various um, I don't know if this might not even have the perfect in the subjunctive. V, we got subjunctive and we have perfect, and I'm just going to do a search where it might show up. So the reason why I'm doing this is because I don't like to just filter through, and by doing the morph search, that it allows me to find possibilities where those exist. But as we can see here that the even the ones where the subjunctive occur, it does not occur as often as, as you would think. One that does occur more, and as so, let's move on to the imperative. The imperative, the meaning, as Mounce points it, yeah, it's the imperative. So the meaning aspect, as has been in the case in the only significance of the imperative is its aspect. It has no time significance. As I have pointed out, that what Mounce is getting at is the only time when something happens is important is in indicative verbs. Because the difference between Greek and English. Oh, thank you. Thank you for the life. I'm going over non-indicative Greek of verbs in Greek. I have non-indicative verbs, so I'm going over non-indicative verbs in Greek. This is also on I am broadcasting the Logos Bible Saucer on YouTube. So if you want to check out what I'm doing step by step, that's where you would want to go. So as so here went on. It has no time significance because of the difference between Greek and English. It will often be impossible to carry this over in English, as you first may want to use continue or keep on in your translation of the present imperative. For example, blepe means to keep on looking, while blepson means to look. It goes on, the command, the imperative mood is used to express a command. So this is something that I am commanding someone else to do. It's not optional. It's not optional for me here. For example, in Mark 2:14, akelute moi. Akelute moi is, or it, hakalute moi means to follow me. When Jesus makes the command, he gives that command, and when Jesus gave that command, it's an imperative with the implication that they will follow him. Next, in Mark, you give them something to eat. Dote autois hemes psagain. it's an imperative. He was commanding someone to give somebody something to eat. Um, all right. Now let's create another visual filter. Um, so we're now in the formatting, I believe. Yes. So now we're going to do the imperative. I don't know why it's doing this. I know why. Ah, now I know why. All right. Because it's only going to show up on the Bible. So we're going to make a new visual filter. And here, let's rename that because that we really have the subjunctive. All these are subjunctive visual filters. Now we're now going to go into the imperative. So we're going to name this the imperative BF. Now, because I don't need it for all my Bibles, I really just need it for the one I'm using, right? Yeah. All right. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to deactivate this other visual filter because I don't need it right now. Now, what we're going to do is I'm going to do at, make sure it's on morph. We got our verb. We have, make sure it's on Greek. And I want to have the subjunctive. And let's start with the aorist. I want to only search. I want the only one that has an aorist imperative. We're going to use blue. Bingo. So let's do something with Ephesians. I like to, or because I'm in the book of Philippians. So let's take on Philippians here. I have no idea. I haven't done the grammar on this at all. But we're going to go and we're going to search. Here we go. So once again, I'm looking for imperatives. So there's an imperative and this is the aorist imperative. So the aorist comparative presents this idea of a snapshot. Sometimes it's in it gives more of a overall picture of the verb. It's not so much. It's not just from the present or the past, the present, or the future. It's just has a general, so it encompasses all of that. So that in the name of Jesus, every knee should bow. So this word bow is going to be our command. These are all in the subjunctive. That's not what I wanted. And it's always, so I didn't want that. I want it in the imperative. Now, it's best. I want imperative and I want erst. So, and every tongue confess. This word confess now I know. So just keep in mind, sometimes you may get things that show up in logos, like the confess. That should not be showing up. There. So the reason why that was is because it was still being searched. So now we're gonna go into our search, and now we're gonna do a imperative, and we're gonna limit this to the aorist. So we see some of I don't see any aorist in the here. I see one right here in Philippians 4:1. Rejoice in the Lord always. Again, I will say rejoice. Let your reasons be known. So here is an aorist passive imperative. So it's a command. So he's commanding them. He's not, so this command is not an option for them to obey. Um, it's, so he's saying the snapshot, when I look at your life, this should be the pattern of your life, that you have been a reasonable person. Um, and it's from the Greek word gnosko. So gnosko and ginomai are words of personal. It represents knowing something personally. So that you need to have contact with people so they can know that you are a reasonable individual. Now when I come into another verb of the imperative, now let's do the present tense. And let's look at this time. I want it to be brown. So I'm going to look for present tense verbs that are, so bingo. So now we kind of see some of this stuff pop out now. And so in verse 4, we rejoice. And this is a present active imperative. He's saying, the best way to translate this, you ought to be content. He's saying, keep on rejoicing in the Lord always. So this is the ongoing action that he expects them to follow. The ongoing action that he expects them to follow is rejoice. And he says down here, this is a command. Do not be anxious about anything. It's a command for us to obey. And always obey. So this should be the ongoing action of us, is that we're not anxious about anything, but in everything by prayer and supplication, let your requests be known to God. So I need to constantly tell God my requests and my supplications. Let's get another one that's going to help. So we're now another verb, and we have the imperative. Let's look for a perfect. And in here, we're going to put that, and it's not brown. We're going to have that as gray. So we said that the perfect is something that happens in the past that has ongoing results. Here's what we're going to do. So we're going to go into morph, and we're going to go into all passages and verse, all morph tag. I do not want, that is part of my problem. It's going into my Greek. So now we're going to go into at verb, and I want to search for imperatives and a perfect. So anytime that a perfect imperative shows up, it's going to come up here. So now I had a previous one where the passage was in analysis, and now, so here, let's go into Ephesians. Or better yet, James 1:19. James 1:19 is going to tell us, and it's a command. Now, why I'm doing this, because now what we're going to see, this one is highlighted already, and the reason, and we already know it. The reason why it's highlighted is because I searched it. When you're doing that, so now, so one thing we just saw is that our search, when we did the visual filter, it's going to have a color. If you highlight or if you search for it, it's going to have a color that's overlaid that color. So in here, gray and yellow make this color. Let me do that search again so you see verb, imperative, and a perfect. So when I search this, that color is going to change, and the color and why it changes. Yellow and gray make a brownish color. All right. So we talked about a perfect is a past event that has ongoing results. So now this is a different word. This is oida. It means to understand. Sometimes it can have a personal nature, but not all the time. If you want to know the definitions of these words, I would consult either a BDAG or Louw-Nida are my two favorites. So if I wanted to know, okay, what is this word, I would go into Bible word study. And my two prominent Greek lexicons is BDAG Louw-Nida, what I also want to show is Logos has an embedded, fantastic lexicon.
It's 4:51 p.m.
Now that was so. If I want to go into my interlinear, view my interlinear here, and I come into here. This one right here. So when I click here, so to be cognizant or aware of fact or a specific place of information, possess knowledge or information. So, like I said, understanding. So these are your lexicons. Is that if I wanted to understand more of the definition, that's what I would do. But we're not here to get into the definition. I was just going to point those out to you where you would go to find those. So we have this word know. It's a present or it's a perfect imperative. So one, it's a command. One, it's a command that is implied that you're going to continue to follow. Next, that it's perfect. So it's a past event that has ongoing implications. When we come into, let's go into Wallace and when he talks about the perfect here. As a general introduction, for most part, the perfect and the pluriperfect tenses are identical in aspect, though different in time. Thus, both speak of an event accomplished in the past in the indicative mood, that is, as I've been talking about. The indicative mood is primarily concerned with time, with results existing afterwards. The perfect speaking of results existing in the present. The plural perfect speaking of results existing in the past. Now, when we come into, when we are going through Logos Bible software, and I am showing people how to search for right now the of the imperfect or the imperative and the imperfect, or the imperative and the perfect. So let's kind of try this. There we go. We can see these a whole lot better. Wow. So we can see these a whole lot better as we're type of action. I want to get into what it says about the perfect. Perfect. The perfect tense form, the stative aspect, is often described as conveying a completed action in the past that has continuing results. That is, the action itself is no longer being performed, but the consequences of that action still exist in the present. In relation to the time of the author. Thus, Gay from Grapho. All right. So the perfect tense in Greek is a past event that has ongoing implications, ongoing consequences. So when we come back to our word here, and this is a very uncommon, as we saw, it was only like 5 different occurrences. 5 occurrences of the imperative in what's called is the perfect. So no, it says know this. So no, it's saying once you come to the understanding, know this, my beloved brothers, let everyone be quick. So once you come to the understanding that you're not to be quick to, that you should be quick to hear, slow to speak, slow to anger, you ought always to be quick to hear, slow to speak, and slow to anger. You ought always, this is an imperative. This is not an option for you and me. This is not an option for you and me. Next, now we're going to I'm going to do a search. I don't want to search the Greek classics at all. I want to just find probably some others, some other imperative ones that could be. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to go into a verb. I want to have a imperative. Let's see if anything shows in the future. I doubt it. No. Let's see if anything is in the plural perfect. I doubt it. No. Let's see if there's anything in the imperfect. I doubt it. Because the imperfect is only in the indicative mode. Watch it. Wow. Wow, it showed me wrong. Wow. So the imperfect does show up in non-indicative ones. I would presume this would only be narrative. I would not expect this to show up in any I would not expect this to show up. So let's see if any shows up. So how I'm going to limit this, I'm going to limit this from Romans to Revelation. So what this does is it's now going to limit my search of what I, wow. The imperfect shows up more than I would have thought. So let's, that's why. That is why it didn't show up, right? I was right. I knew I was right. All passages. I knew I was right. I knew I was right here. So as I thought that in the non-indicative, the imperfect tense only occurs in the indicative verbs. The imperfect tense only shows up in indicative verbs. So let's unclick that. Let's see if we have the imperative and the mood, and let's see. So we've already I searched for a variety. And yeah, so the only ones that the perfect shows up is in the aorist tense, the perfect tense, and the present tense. So I hope that was helpful for you. I hope that that helped to give you a understanding of little bit what's going on, how to search, a little bit of understanding of both the imperative as well as the subjunctive. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.